Hello everyone, welcome to From the Star Wars Home Video Library. I'm your host Nathan P. Butler. This time, we look at something that's a little bit different, but that seems to be the mantra lately, right? As most of the collection has been filled and covered on the show, it's now the oddball items or the foreign items outside of a US collection that are tending to make their mark here on the show. This time, we're going to look at something similar to something we looked at a while back. You may recall that a while ago we took a look at the screener for Empire of Dreams on VHS and on DVD, and talked about what a screener was, why they exist. In this case, here for Emmy consideration. Very early on, we also looked at the Clone Wars cartoon series. That is the one that ran from 2008 for 6 seasons on Cartoon Network and then on Netflix. Now, when we looked at Season 2, we looked at the season sets in digibook form, on Blu-ray with 3 discs, and on DVD with 4 discs. We also looked at the reissue of Season 2 in regular cases rather than digibooks, again, on Blu-ray and on DVD. We also saw that there were episode-specific DVDs released as pack-ins with toys, like Landing at Point Rain, Weapons Factory, Legacy of Terror, and Brain Invaders. We also made note of that Bounty Hunters DVD that was more like a little clip show type of thing with profiles of bounty hunters than actual episodes of anything, another toy pack-in. So there's a lot of Season 2, the Clone Wars content already out there. On Bounty Hunters, it's a mixture of 1 and 2. But basically, there's been quite a bit from Season 2. So you wouldn't expect to find much more like that unless you're looking outside the US market. But there was one other very unusual release that I've found for Season 2 of the Clone Wars. You may think back to that whole screener thing and think about, well, what's the point of a screener? We want to get people to see it, but we don't want it to be a regular retail release when we do, like when we're trying to get something checked out for possible Emmy nods or Oscar nods in the case of films. Well, the same thing can be said when you want to build some hype for something or get people interested in promoting something. Usually this results in the sending out of what are referred to as press kits. And a press kit could be a little bit of anything. Could be some just goofy swag, could be some images, could wind up being little video clips. Sometimes, though, a press kit, aside from just multimedia on, say, a CD-ROM or a DVD-ROM, will include an actual screener of the product itself. That was the case for Season 2 of the Clone Wars. I present to you The Clone Wars Season 2, Rise of the Bounty Hunters. This is a press kit. Notice it says that on the front. There's Clone Wars at the top, Cartoon Network logo at the bottom. Flip it around. Clone Wars logo, Lucasfilm logo on the bottom, says CartoonNetwork.com. This is a press kit, but unlike many, this includes a screener. Now I'm going to open this up kind of carefully because the discs are kind of stuck in here with an adhesive. So you open it first, we've got Cad Bane on one side with Hunter, Anakin with Hunted, really playing up the whole Rise of the Bounty Hunters angle of Season 2 that never really came to fruition in any meaningful sense. Now you open it up further, try to do this without them falling out, and there are discs stuck to the inside of this packaging. When I pop those discs off, first, here's Hunted. This is Obi-Wan. Notice it says press materials down at the bottom. This is a CDR disc. Notice I didn't say CD-ROM. It's a CDR, essentially. You can tell by looking at the back. It's kind of hard to tell, possibly with all the reflection on this. This, you can even see the edge of the burn. Because these are press materials and not mass-produced, a lot of times these are produced locally at the building where they're being put together. So here's the cool cover. Glossier, shinier than most because of the nature of what it's being printed on. And then here's just a standard CDR type disc that has your CD-ROM style content on it. Okay, so this CD-ROM is going to have numerous things we'll talk about here in a moment. The second disc, though, is our screener. Has Aura Singh, says Hunted. Down there at the bottom, screener. And if you flip it over, if that was a CDR, this is a DVD. What would you expect? That's right, DVD-R, right? Purple on the bottom. This is made in the place where they're putting the press kits together, essentially. It is not mass-produced. Now, the question, of course, becomes, what is on this? What is on that? Again, we'll get to it. Hold your horses. We got one more thing to look at. I set the packaging aside, but it's not just this and this that's of interest. I really kind of like the way that it opens up. So you got the one side here where it opens, says, Rise of the Bounty Hunters. With press info on the bottom, there's your Cad Bane image. This is actually where the disc adheres. That side text says, Star Wars The Clone Wars is back on Cartoon Network. Bigger, bolder, and better than ever. Featuring all new adventures and deadly threats. Season 2's fierce battles, expanded stories, and elaborate animation raise the stakes for the sweeping galactic conflict. As a Jedi fight to preserve the Galactic Republic, a new breed of villains appear on the scene. Bounty Hunters. Led by the ruthless Cad Bane, this group of mercenaries promises to ratchet up the action and cause real trouble for the Jedi Knights and the clones. Other side. Open up the Anakin side. And what you got here are quick little profiles. It says, the Bounty Hunters, ruthless and cunning, they travel the galaxy hunting down their prey. Aura Singh, cold-hearted and cruel, Singh is an exacting assassin who expects results and always gets her target. Cad Bane, the galaxy's most feared bounty hunter, Bane is ruthless and will use any means necessary to capture his prey. Then Bosk, he is a cunning predator known to devour his victims, which makes his breath just as deadly. Ew. A savage loner, Bosk lives for the hunt. Then at the bottom it says, the Jedi Knights, guardians of galactic peace and justice. The Jedi serve to protect. Not serve and protect, serve to protect. Anakin Skywalker, and it's in dark text here. Anakin is a noble Jedi Knight with exceptional lightsaber skills. His brash nature sometimes puts his life and the lives of those he loves in danger. Ahsoka Tano, nicknamed Snips, because of her feisty nature. This young Padawan is eager to prove herself in battle. And then Obi-Wan Kenobi, disciplined and courageous, Obi-Wan fights to preserve the Republic. He is a fierce warrior, but also merciful and kind. You can see it there. Then you got a few little tidbits there in Aurebesh that I honestly haven't taken the time to translate. And of course, Ahsoka here. That's where the other disc sticks on here. So kind of a nice cover here, although it would be nice if there was a way for the discs to stay other than having to be stuck to it, because over time, that could leave some residue on the discs themselves, though thankfully not as much as I would have expected, actually. So what's actually on these discs? Let's start with the CDR, or the CD-ROM, and leave the best for last. So the CDR contains a couple of PDFs, first of all. You have a crossword puzzle, so press kit of stuff you can put on your website for kids, and a key to the Aurebesh alphabet. Cool enough, I guess, though not sure why you would need that while watching, but it's a nice little addition. 17 images as JPEG files, one image, kind of a bigger image, as a PDF file, and then a doc file that includes captions to go with all of them if you were to use them on your website. There are 2 episode clips. You have a 30-second clip from Cargo of Doom. You have a minute-long clip from Holocron Heist. We'll come back to those here in just a second. We also have other press materials in doc form. You have 8 doc files. You have biographies for Carrie Silver, Dave Filoni, and George Lucas. Then an interview transcript with Filoni and Lucas. You have a list of characters broken down into little profiles called Good versus Evil. There's a press release for Season 2's premiere date being announced. There's an overview of Season 2 and an article on voice work for the show. Again, all as doc files, the assumption being that you would be using this on your website to try to build hype for Season 2 coming soon. Now that brings us to the screener disc itself. The meat of this, why it's part of the home video library. You have 2 episodes on here, essentially. You have actually the first 2 of the season. Holocron Heist and Cargo of Doom. Now, because this is a screener, it's not meant for public consumption, there's actually a little warning that is on the screen throughout the entire runtime of both episodes. It says, and I quote, "Promotional services only. Distribution and/or broadcast in any media is strictly prohibited. No copying, subject to applicable law." Okay, so we can't show clips from the episodes themselves. However, we can use the stuff that is actually built to be scrutinized, built to be press materials here. So really quickly, let me show you what the menu looks like, because it is very different than what we see on the season sets and such. Let's look at what the menu looks like, then I'll be selecting one of the episodes, and before we get to the episode itself, which has that little warning on it and such that we're not gonna show, you'll see the two little other warnings, little notices, that play in front of it, which basically tell us, hey, these are not finished episodes, even though in this case they are. Apparently that is just sort of a standard warning that goes on everything, even if the episodes themselves are actually finished. But here's the menu and the notices. Now, the episodes themselves, because this isn't the season set yet, this is actually as we're leading into Season 2 getting going, they aren't those gorgeous, full-width, theatrical aspect ratio episodes that we got on the Blu-ray and DVD season sets. Instead, what we've got is the aspect ratio of television, first of all. So, a little bit taller, a little bit narrower on your screen. Like they air on Cartoon Network or aired on Cartoon Network, like you get from something like iTunes right after it airs, that aspect ratio. But unfortunately, they're not designed for widescreen televisions. They are letterboxed, which is basically what this series is. You may have noticed that even though I've gone to a widescreen format, I still keep the black bars on top, bottom, and left and right if you're watching this on YouTube. The reason for that is I like to have that black bar at the bottom to give me the ability to put the subtitles in the black bar as much as possible if I can limit it to just one line. But that's basically what happens when you get something that is letterboxed put onto a widescreen screen. So you've got the episode itself playing. Because it is widescreen, there is a black bar, small at least, on top and bottom. But then because it is formatted for a standard TV, not a widescreen TV, it is letterboxed, not regular widescreen. When you put that onto a widescreen television, it gives you black bars to the left and right. We've seen this with other previous releases. It's not a big surprise or anything. I would note, though, something interesting about those video clips I said I would come back to. On the CD-ROM, the promotional video clips, the one that is from Holocron Heist is that same aspect ratio as the episodes themselves, no big deal. Okay, so it's letterboxed, whatever, it just doesn't look as good. Weirdly enough, check out this clip from Cargo of Doom.
Let's make this a bit more interesting. Lockdown!
You notice what's different? It's weird, right? It's not widescreen with the bars on top and bottom and the bars on the sides. What they've done is they've compressed it, narrowing it down even more to zoom in on it so it takes the entire height of the screen and gives us what is really a full screen image. We basically never really seen that from the Clone Wars. It's always been some type of letterboxed widescreen or real widescreen or that theatrical aspect ratio real widescreen. And here we are with something as a promo clip that's in regular old school standard definition TV dimension full screen. Kind of an odd choice, I think. Now, as I said, the episodes themselves, they are the finished episodes. I did one of those simultaneous watching on multiple screens, listening and keeping things in sync. Did not notice any differences whatsoever as far as the main content goes. However, what you will find on this is the credits at the end are a tiny bit longer in terms of how they run, which means how fast or slow that they cycle on the screener. than they are on the Blu-ray set or the DVD set, as the case may be, the final season set episodes. There are spots for commercial breaks. They don't show anything in place of a commercial break. It's just a longer blackout moment. It just fades to black, stays black for a little bit, then finally comes back. And oddly enough, I guess because they don't want these things to be copied, I found that I could play this on a standard DVD player. I could not play it, not rip it, not play it, nothing. That's why I had to use that. You notice that weird thing where I showed the menu and all here just a moment ago. Doesn't seem as clear as a lot of the DVD clips that I might have used. It's because I had to actually digitize that the same way I would digitize off of a VHS with a Roxio Easy VHS to DVD 3, or whatever the version number is. It will not play on a computer. VLC player, Windows Media Player, doesn't matter. It will not play on a computer. You have to play it in a regular DVD player. I've rarely ever seen that before. The only other time I can think of off the top of my head where I've seen it any time in the last few years was the second disc of Frank Herbert's Children of Dune from Sci-Fi Channel, and I figured that was just bad DVD authoring. But yeah, very weird. Plays in a DVD player, doesn't play in a computer. Otherwise, though, it's the same episodes we got back in Season 2 of The Clone Wars as it kicked off in 2009. So, that being said, it's an interesting, odd little item to add to the home video library. I haven't run across many of these. In fact, at the time I found this, it was the only listing on eBay for it. I'm wondering if these even existed for other seasons with actual screeners. If you do a lot of searching on places like eBay for Star Wars press kits, many of them come with digital materials on a CD-ROM or a DVD-ROM, but to find ones that actually have screeners is pretty unusual. So it seems like that is not a standard practice for Lucasfilm, just something that, hey, fortunately for us, for the home video library, did happen in Season 2, making for an interesting little collectible to add. With that, we'll wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching, and may the Force be with the home video viewers.